Eric. Welcome to the third episode, the November episode of the GlobalSake Challenger Explorer LocTalks coffee chats, where in each month we tackle a big challenge in the space of the next discoveries in multilingual agentic AI. What's brewing for you in your cup today?
I have in the afternoon. I like to take some seltzer that I make
Mhm.
with SodaStream with some ginger juice that I
Ooh,
just put in there, some fresh ginger juice, and that
fresh.
makes a nice sharp thing, and it helps clear your sinuses. It's good for you. Yeah,
Mm.
it's a nice afternoon treat.
Wow. Okay. We might shift the format of these episodes to nutrition tips. That's very good. I do fresh turmeric and ginger roots. It's very
Turmeric is really good for you. Yeah, it's very good for you. Everybody should have some turmeric. But anyway, this isn't a dietary show, so let's get started.
yes, yes. But I'm having a chamomile and lavender in my 1981 royal wedding in St. Paul's Cathedral. Do you remember whose wedding that was?
Was that Princess Charles and
Yes.
Diana? Yeah,
Yes, I was there. I was
yeah.
there.
Wow, that's
Yes, I was very young.
wow, that's a momentous
For
occasion.
disclaimer,
Yeah.
so people don't have anything, yeah, any bad ideas. Um, cool, Eric. It's really great to see you. I was very, very happy to see you in person in Monterey in October at our Lock Walk Global Sake event, and before that at the Golden, Colorado Lock Walk event with
Oh,
John Hayato and Susan Frank and Suzanne and Karen and many, many other good friends from our industry. Um, so let's dive into today's, and of course, you're based in Colorado, and I'm
hmm.
here in San Francisco. So today's challenge is I would like to kind of focus or explore the future of autonomy and continuous autonomy, control, and continuous localization. And of course, when I say the future, I don't mean tomorrow, I mean today.
Hmm.
Um, so in the next gen agentic AI, unlike in traditional prompt-based models, agentic acts autonomously, right? And it is learning, adapting, making decisions, triggering content automatically. With that, there is a lot of opportunity for human in the driver's seat engagement, not just in the prompt initial phase, but actually in every single phase of the workflow.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, there's also that big promise of continuous localization, like we've always wanted in our industry of real-time, multilingual, multi-geo, multi-modal deploys, right? So there's all these promises and all these potential opportunities that the technology is enabling us. And with the combination of AI agents and human agents working side by side in a feedback loop of human intuition and AI precision, right? AI offers us, the agents offer us scalability and precision. Human offer the expertise, and we can be together an amazing team. With all of that, there is, of course, a lot of concerns for risks in governance and oversight. And
Hmm.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that, and then we can kind of also touch on what does real-time continuous localization look like with AI agents and humans, co-pilots.
Yeah, so a bunch of things.
Yeah.
So I think there's I think about it in terms of well, one is the thing that this feature is already here just isn't evenly distributed yet, because we do have instant translation, and there's different stages at which somebody initiates that translation. So if you're a user, you can easily use MT to translate anything you don't understand, and you can get instant translation. But the control, I think, is what we're talking about. So if you have an intent, and you want to make sure that intent reaches a target audience, there's several different steps that need to happen that, we talk about a lot in GlobalSake, the understanding your target audience, for example, translating into their language, into that demographics perspective. So there's the two things there. One's the control that you want to have over your brand and your voice, and the terms that you want to use, and the quality standards that you want. And on the other end of the spectrum, there's the localization, or the translate into, that is something that the creator doesn't have access to. Like, if you're creating content, you have some idea about what your target audience wants or needs, but you don't really have full information of what they want. And I think this is interesting because this has been a perennial challenge with marketing forever, like ever since before the internet, before there was a printing press. Well, okay, maybe that's too far back, but I don't know. People are trying to get ideas across, and there's a translator sitting there trying to figure out how to make this fit for this particular audience without knowing really enough about that target audience. And so that's where that feedback loop comes in, which I think is so exciting about marketing right now. It's because now we have these ultra powerful summary tools. They can go out there and ask, like, look at all this content and summarize for me in a few seconds, or read all these documents that I don't have time for and give me a synopsis of what I'm interested in. And I want to generate some content with such and such a tone. It almost instantly does this. It's unbelievably powerful in this regard. And you can easily generate copy that is targeted towards teenagers, and it'll pull the latest trends or kind of interesting jargon that's out there. It'll just easily find what's exciting for that demographic to talk about, or it can make it sound more academic or more formal or professional. It's staggering how powerful this is. But then you get to, how much do you want to localize? You can over localize, I think, in this case too, where you're maybe, let's say you're trying to target a minority group and you're trying to adopt to that minority group's slang. How well will they receive it if you're not getting it quite right, or if you're trying? It almost gets into cultural appropriation at that point. So it's an interesting dynamic. Same with the continuous localization. Like, so, I mean,
but before that, just on that note, Eric, it's very, very interesting what you're saying. It's we could then pull the levers, right? We could say that for Japan, or for a market that requires more, in Japanese, there are 9 honorifics, right? More formality, how we address, how we reposition the value proposition even, right? How we wrap the information, the messaging, and the brand value would need to be adapted. So we can do hyper localization, if you like, or more sensitive localization, or more fine-tuned target audience, right? Target segment, customer segment adaptation for specific markets. So we can pull by geolocation, by use case, customer use case, by local interface, by attribution channel, where they came to us from. All these many different levers that we can pull to fine tune, or to make it more neutral and generic.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of power there, whether or not it's used responsibly or not, and also whether it's done correctly or not. I mean, there's certainly challenges where there's just an absence of information. So you can't grammatically add context that doesn't exist in the source. So sometimes you have to sort of add that, or shape that as your target. But there's a lot of potential, I think, in marketing in particular, that is probably one of the best and more interesting uses of AI. Again, data is the key, and to what extent in English, it's very easy to do. And for high resource languages, it's relatively easy to do. With low resource languages, not nearly as much. And we see also, the more specific the content, it's the exact same problem as low resource languages, where, say, a company's brand, there isn't that much content there to work with. So it might end up you just don't have enough there to create something. So you might need to create some data. But we have tools out there that can just point to a URL and say, I want that tone. And it can grab that tone and it analyzes it. You can ask AI to analyze it. It's like, oh, this is an informal tone. And it's targeted to such and such a demographic. And here's the simple version of what the website. But you can have it digest an entire website and analyze what its vibe is. You can even have AI analyze a website and look for vulnerabilities, look for ways that it can be improved, look for ways that it can be enhanced. So AI has this powerful role in all this, and it also has, like your, like you put a question out there to your audience with regards to like the 1940 movies. I don't know what the correct answer is, but I'm pretty sure it's Fantasia because it was the brooms, right?
You
Because of
just
the,
failed. I cannot
yeah,
guess.
you're, but I mean, I like the
You will
broom
know
thing.
very soon.
Yeah, we'll know very soon. But my version of that is the
Yes.
brooms are essentially an automation that Mickey Mouse sort of deploys technology to make a job easier, but then
Mhm.
completely gets out of control. And so that
Right.
that becomes kind of a warning sign for us because we learn that that we can use these tools and then we can trust them. And if we over trust them, it gives us a convincing answer that we want to hear and then can be completely wrong. So that's where the
And we
human.
never want as and as humans, I think we have a universal fear of losing control, right? It's kind of the human
Yes.
condition, right? We never want to lose control, and therefore all the, fear of robots taking over. But there is something very hopeful about the concept of AI and human agents working together in that constant feedback loop. Each has a different expertise, right?
Yep.
Humans have that common sense and in context, and certainly, specific expertise, cultural, regional expertise that at least at this stage, AI still does not have. And it's not data, it's not about information, right? AI is really good with information and collapsing a lot of information into, and using that very effectively. But humans have that common sense and the intuition, right?
Yeah.
So that could be very powerful, but there is always that fear of losing that control, right?
Well, there, and that is an important aspect of over automating. Like you be careful about what you automate, but there's also a tendency for technology to be backwards focused. So it's handling yesterday's problems instead of thinking about how are you going to differentiate today. So if you use AI to sort of overuse AI, your brand will sound like everybody else's brand. It won't really
Mhm.
have its own voice. We also worry about the
Authenticity, yes.
yeah, this yeah. There's a tendency for an audience humans are very good pattern detectors, right? So if
Mhm.
it's very, we've already seen this, that you can look at something and say, oh yeah, AI wrote that. It's using, I mean, the joke is too many M dashes, but we recognize that that's generic average stuff. It doesn't really have that pop. So I think the human plus AI agent together can make something much stronger than either of them alone could do. And namely the human in control who's responsible for getting it right. And that
Mhm.
means using all these tools to find out what is out there, like what is customer sentiment, what is going on with this sub market, what all these sort of sources to try to make
Mhm.
that better, but they need to be the decider. They need to be the one who
Right.
makes decisions as to what's the right one. So I think that when we're talking about AI powered, we're not just talking about
Mhm.
translators working faster. We're looking at translators, hopefully, with better tools to find out what is right, to
Mhm.
determine what truth is. And if they're using those tools responsibly, I mean, I don't mean, I wouldn't think they ever would do otherwise because they're
Mhm.
professionals. But it's like you want to look at that and you take that information, but then you sift through which parts are true, which parts are,
Mhm.
you get to the true answer. It's like starting with Wikipedia. It's not the end of your journey, it's the
Yeah.
beginning of the journey. It starts you, and then you can go validate by checking original sources,
Mhm.
and then you can clarify and refine. But for humans, I think the most important for us is to understand intent and to differentiate from that
Mhm.
generic voice. Yeah.
And also we could even for, we don't need a lot of big data as we thought we did earlier on. We can use sample data and infer and look at when previously we would create source content and then, localize it to targets. But when we created the source content, it was not necessarily based on the data, on the user interface data, right? So now we can create smarter content together, right? With that, weaving in basically sales and marketing, consumer, customer support interface, right? What are
Yeah.
the customers telling us about that kind of content? Do they like it? Do they not like it? What's missing, right? What's not appropriate?
Yeah.
But let's
You know,
shift.
okay, just one thought there. It's not
Oh,
just
yeah,
about translation, it's all these other signals put together.
yeah.
So if you have your customer success team is getting some signals with regards to what people are having trouble with, you have marketing signals about what people are interested in buying, what are they responding to. You have other stuff, which is usability data from product tracking trackers that you can see what people are downloading, what are they deleting. All these signals kind of come together and you have
Mhm,
faster and faster access to them. And yet the analytics and the different systems that are involved can also be very different data sources, which can sometimes make it really hard to make this real. So as we get back to that dream of the synthesized, like the dream synthesis, often we're stymied by the
mhm,
investment needed to get the data you need to make this fast. And now that gets into a commercial problem of like the ROI of these shiny new tools. The market leaders are going to use them because they can invest enough to make
mhm.
them like work
Right.
and they have enough data. Whereas a lot of the people in the middle are struggling with substandard data sets or
Mhm.
lack of context, and it's still a long way to go, I think, for them.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm very hopeful about the promise of the right direction in terms of content impact, right? We
Yeah.
can learn from, we can have now the technology can enable us better insight into the impact of the content we create and put out there so that we can create more relevant and impact ready content, right?
Yeah. That's
That is
exactly.
very adaptive, which is going to completely change the role. We're not going to talk about that today, but change completely the role of localization professionals because it's not just about source target content shuffling, it's really understanding very deeply the business, the
Yeah.
customers, the segmentation, the
Yeah.
sales. It's very much about metrics and the analysis that you come out. But let's do a quick shift because I know these videos are
For
designed
sure.
to be very short, 10 max 15-minute segments. So very quickly, I'm just going to touch the surface. Many companies now want real-time localization life cycles. They believe that they can get it in video, audio, text, reels, every model of assets. Where are we in your opinion right now? And what, it's a big question, but on the like on a, let's say, bottom line, what do companies need to do today to be ready for that?
Yeah. Well, think about things like it depends. We are held back not by the efficiency of the translation itself, but by the systems in which those systems are operating, the systems in which that content is operating. So
Mhm,
consider an LMS that has a bunch of YouTube videos plugged into it. How do you can easily extract the content out of the LMS? Like Articulate has this great way you can export XLIFs, you can translate it, round cycle it, put it right back in, super fast. But when you have a external assets which aren't localizable in themselves, like YouTube videos, now you have to scan the content, analyze it, pull out this text, translate the text, put it back in, maybe do a dubbing. Though that is now there is capabilities to do that, but that also has challenges in the type of content that it is. And this is user-generated content. And it might not be structurally
mhm,
contiguous. And now you're trying to match style, you're trying to match tone. There's lots and lots of challenges involved still. So I think there's a plenty of problems left to solve, but it's the
mhm,
systems holding us back. The tools we're using are holding us back rather than necessarily the translation by
mhm,
itself. But to be fair, the language is complex, right? And we're getting to a state where we can get close, but there's the nuanced edge is still
mhm,
elusive and remains very difficult. It's the same challenges we have with MT. It can get pretty darn good, but to get it perfect and get it
mhm,
fast, you have to tolerate a certain degree of fail. And if you're tolerating a certain amount of fail, that's it's okay. I mean, there's use
mhm.
cases for that. In
But do
fact,
it thoughtfully with
yeah,
the right.
99% of all content, above 99% of all content is automatically translated already.
Mhm,
But the human, why a human matters would be in getting it right because it matters. And that
mhm,
I think still requires a human, powered by the tools that we can provide them.
mhm,
And the challenge is often the systems that we've used in to to make this easier in the past now are trapping us from
Right.
making it harder for us
I,
to move forward.
and I would even say that I very much believe that on the LSP side and on the client side, and really what we need is a multilingual agentic AI first, multimodal first. If we're able to create a platform infrastructure architecture systems that talk to each other, that enable that agentic and multimodal first integration, enablement, then we can really crack that. And what I'm seeing now, we're still not there. A lot of LSPs are quickly, adapting their technologies to enable, and I see that some are very good with specifically audio video, but then it's audio video. What about all the other modalities of assets, right? And so if we can be multimodal and agentic first in our foundational enable infrastructure, I think that's where we can really scale effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the connectedness of systems and being able to assemble micro tasks or microservices into a coherent workflow is where enormous potential lies. You see orchestrator solutions like Blackbird out there that are starting to sort of look at this from a process standpoint. And even those powerful orchestration tools still are limited by data asynchronicities between data sources, where system A uses one container object and system B uses a different container object. And so it's very hard to sort of get these
Streamline it all, yeah.
plugged together. But I think the winners, we will see all of us adapting to change as these systems start integrating more. And it's not that we're waiting for the tools, we're waiting for the tools to catch up for sure, but it's really about the logically and using good critical thinking when you're applying these tools to just determine how best they should be used to meet a certain business objective. And that, I mean, GlobalSake has talked about this for years, how important it is to really get down to that substance, that meaning of what you're trying to achieve, and to build your architecture around that goal. So I've often said this. Anybody who's heard me talk before, I'll eventually get to this point. But I just love getting back to what you're really trying to do. It is connect
What's
people.
the end goal, right? For
Yeah, what your end goal is, and then
where's the Holy Grail? Yeah.
Exactly, and you might find out that you need to throw out your entire tech stack and start over again. And
it's a mind shift between production and solution.
Yeah, if you're oriented around the solution rather than how to do your production faster. So if you're only trying to do words faster, you probably are missing an opportunity to think about what words should be writing in the first place,
right,
for this content. So
yeah. Bigger vision. And just an open-ended question for maybe a later episode. Can the tools ever catch up? Because our targets are moving, and I don't know if the tools can always chase after that moving sun, right? I mean,
so I guess they'll always, I'll try to answer that. I think the only time that our tools will ever catch up to us is when we stop
dreaming,
being curious. We stop imagining a better future.
Yeah.
So as long as we're seeing,
we'll always be at a deficit, right? It's like a LinkedIn profile; it's never 100% complete.
No, it's always emerging. It's always growing. It's like software never gets finished. It's like always emerging. It's always being written. It's kind of a fundamental DevOps or LangOps principle, is that it's constantly changing, and that getting used to that constant adaptation and change is what, and our curiosity and our better questions will lead us to adapting and changing even faster. So that becomes, it's not so much about the perfect solution as about asking better questions and refining it. Yeah.
LocTalks.
Yeah.
Come to the LocTalks. All right. And by the way, we do have an amazing LocTalk and wine tasting in the Seattle area in Woodinville, hosted by Scientific. So yeah, for Seattle.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I'd like to be there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Eric. As always, it's such a pleasure to be talking with you. Not enough time. We need to meet up again in person and talk.
Always a pleasure, Talia. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Bye-bye.